Hey there, and welcome to Feature Shelf, a series that provides book recommendations based on theme or title suggestions. I am the supplier, and this week's Feature Shelf is the Books They Think You Shouldn't Read edition in honor of Banned Books Week. Every year, the American Library Association tallies the numbers of complaints it gets about specific books and releases a list of the most frequently challenged books. For the last week and a half, I've been talking to some of my fellow adult nerdfighters about our favorite challenged books, both young adult and classic, and it's been interesting. There are some books that, for whatever reason, didn't even register on my radar when I read the list. And some nerdfighters have favorite books on the list that I've never even read. I'm going to leave the nerdfighter list of favorite challenged books in the blog post for this video, so you can check it out if you want to. So here's my fave 5 of young adult novels that people are saying you shouldn't read. I remember the first time I noticed the cult-like following of Perks of Being a Wallflower on Tumblr. And this was before they started talking about making the movie, which has recently been released. It seemed like so many people loved it. Perks was published in 1999, and according to ALA, it appeared in the top 10 most challenged book list from 2004 to 2009, with the exception of 2005, and was challenged for the following reasons. It's anti-family, there's drug use, homosexuality, offensive language, a religious viewpoint, and sexually explicit, and suicide. And it's unsuited to the age group, whatever age group that may be. This novel is a collection of letters that the main character, Charlie, writes to someone known only as Dear Friend. He writes about his life, school, and about trying to figure out who he is. I love this story, and I've read it at least 3 times since the first time I read it this summer. It's awesome. Second on my list is The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. And I'm certain that this is the funniest book in my entire collection. Part-Time Indian was published in 2007 and has since appeared in the top 10 twice, appearing at number 2 in 2010 and at number 5 in 2011. According to the people who listed Part-Time Indian as a book that people shouldn't read, you shouldn't read it because of its religious viewpoint, because it uses offensive language, there is racism in the book, because, you know, people don't experience racism in real life. It is sexually explicit, and it's unsuited to the age group, which I've decided means that you guys just aren't mature enough to read and understand the book. Part-Time Indian is about Arnold Spirit Jr., a Spokane Indian who wants more for himself than the reservation that he lives on can offer, so he decides to attend Reardon, the school that's 22 miles away in an all-white town. There's a lot of laughter. It does deal with racism. There's basketball, and there's redemption. It's just a great story. I use Twitter to talk to other bookish people like me and follow and sometimes talk to authors. The challenges on the next 3 books I found out about through Twitter, and 2 of those books have sparked online awareness movements, one of which is represented by my t-shirt here, YA Saves. One of the books that sparked the YA Saves movement on Twitter was Shine by Lauren Myerville. Shine was attacked in an article in the Wall Street Journal called Darkness Too Visible, which I linked to in the blog post for this video. Before the story starts, there is a brutal beating of Patrick, a gay teen, who is left near death, tied to a gas station pump with the nozzle of the pump in his mouth and the words, "Suck this faggot," written across his chest in blood. Kat and Patrick used to be friends. Kat thinks there's more to Patrick's beating than people are willing to credit, so as she's trying to deal with her own past and her own coming-of-age story, she goes looking for the truth of what happened to Patrick. It's a beautiful and heartbreaking story that reminds me a lot of what happened to Matthew Shepard back when I was in high school. Another challenge novel that makes my favorites list is Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. The challenge of this novel, in which a critic called the sexual assault that happens before the book begins softcore porn, sparked a movement called Speak Loudly. In Speak, Melinda is assaulted at a party, as I said, before the book begins. She calls the police, who break up the party, but she doesn't speak up about what happened to her. As a result, she's ostracized by the people in her school and falls into silence. Her primary emotional outlet is her art. Read the novel to find out how Melinda learns to speak loudly. The final novel on my list is one that many of the adult nerd fighters said was one of their favorite challenge books, and I can't blame them, as the book was, well, written by a nerd fighter. It's Looking for Alaska by John Green. I'm not entirely certain why Looking for Alaska was challenged, though having read it a number of times, I can hazard a guess. There's one scene that's kind of questionable that I won't talk about here. You should read it and see if you can't sort out what it is. Miles, who is nicknamed Pudge when he begins boarding school at Culver Creek, has decided that he's tired of his old life and wants to seek out the great perhaps. He wants his life to be more than a non-event, essentially. This novel is divided into before and after, with a huge event that affects Pudge in such a way that nothing is ever going to be the same. What are your favorite banned or challenged books? They can be YA novels or adult novels or classic novels. Leave your favorites in the comments here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Remember that if you'd like to request a future feature shelf, you can do that by leaving a comment in any of those same places, and you can find that information on the end screen or in the description for the video. I am the Supplier, reminding you to read irresponsibly and wishing you happy reading. Don't forget to be awesome.